Hey y'all, it's Goob. I just made a Reddit r/creeper encounters video, so go check that out if you haven't already. It has a more creepy tone, but this one is r/confessions. I have three stories today, and I hope you'll like them. I think some of them are a little weird, but kind of funny as well. So enjoy. And this is about 7 years ago. This is posted. But the title of it is I slept with my daughter's ex boyfriend. He got me pregnant, and I had an abortion. They got back together and got married. So, yeah, pretty nuts. This was back in, let me think, maybe 97. I was 38 and my daughter was 18, and she was dating Harry, who was 24. I was an alcoholic and dabbled in other drugs, mostly cocaine. I was not a good person, let alone mother. Not like I was an abusive person to my daughter or anything, but I was generally inattentive and cared more about my alcohol and drugs than her, especially in her teen years. I am 14 years sober now. I disapproved of my daughter dating Harry, but I never told her why. He would flirt with me constantly, and the age difference also creeped me out. Also, he was an alcoholic and drug user, just like me. She broke up with him over his alcoholism, and soon after, she moved away. Not too far, but regardless, she didn't live with me anymore. Harry kept calling me and asking if we wanted to get drinks. I turned him down, but then one day he said he had got a bunch of coke, and I couldn't resist. He came over, we did the coke, and we ended up having relations. He was a very good looking guy. He looked a lot like that ridiculous 80s Justin Bieber picture that was on the front page today. That is actually what made me think about him. For the next few months, maybe like 3 to 4 months, he would come over and we would do the do and do substances and get drunk together. Any drug addict knows what that is like to have a drug addict buddy in that way. Then I got pregnant. I knew it was about him. I had relations without a condom a few times stupidly. I never told him I was pregnant, and I went on to get the abortion and kept it a secret. Anyways, I stopped seeing him after that. It was too weird. I also got sober for like 4 months before relapsing. Fast forward 2 years, and my daughter contacts me and tells me that she got back with Harry, and now he was fully sober. I was mortified, honestly. He was going to tell her that we slept together, and she's going to hate me for life. They came over one day, and I said hi, and when my daughter was gone, Harry told me that there's no reason to tell her about what happened, and I agreed. It's been 16 years of marriage on their part. They have a kid together. Harry got cancer, then beat it. I got sober. That's basically it. I don't see them very often. They live in Texas, and I live on the East Coast. But whenever I do, there's always that tension between me and Harry. It's not literally the first thing that comes to either of our minds. I can just tell. Not like sexual tension, like, why did we do that? What the heck is wrong with us kind of tension. I think about this often, especially when I see my grandson. I always think that could have been my son if things had gone differently. But wow, what a disaster that would have been if I decided to keep that child. Yeah, that's pretty nuts. Um, I think it's kind of crazy that she's keeping this from her daughter. I'm curious to know what y'all would think would happen if the daughter actually found out, because that'd been crazy. And also, because this was posted so long ago, I think I said 7 years ago, that maybe she has found out since then, because, there's only so many people, and maybe she found this Reddit post. But yeah, that's crazy. Anyways, on to the next. For our next one, this is a pretty weird story. The title is My Mom Caught My Dad with a 16-year-old and Covered It Up. Well, 16 years ago, we had two of my friends and their mother living with us while they went through a divorce. I was 15 and my friends were 14 and 16. I was away at another friend's house one night. When I came back the following day, my mom told me she had kicked them out because the 16-year-old tried to make a move on my dad. She absolutely slandered that poor girl's name. When I got into my 20s, it still sat in the back of my mind. I just knew I didn't get the truth. So I reached out to the 16-year-old, who is now in her 20s. We met up, and I got the true story. I could see the pain in her eyes. She said she'd been in therapy for years because of my father, that he did it in such a loving way, it really effed her up. She told me they'd been drinking on the property, then went skinny dipping while my mother was in bed pregnant with my sister. They made their way into the house and upstairs, where eventually my mother walked in on them. I let her know I had her back if she ever decided to do anything about it. I'm now in my 30s and recently became a mother, and it's all I've ever been able to think about. They still don't know that I know the truth. It's reawakened the rage in me, especially all the teenage rage they made me shove down for so long. Because if anyone did that to my daughter, or if I caught my husband in that situation, heck no. It was easy to shove down before because I learned from the best, my parents. But becoming a mother, especially to a daughter, I've never wanted someone to pay for something they've done so bad. I feel like if I brought it up to my mom, she would just get angry and talk a lot of smack behind my back. She'd probably say the past is the past and I need to let it go, that people can change. But I know he hasn't changed due to events over the recent years with his anger and control issues. He's a very big narcissist who believes he can do no wrong whatsoever. My mother's so far up his A, it makes me wonder if the 16-year-old was his only victim. If she was, and if he's ever done it again, would that be okay? Is this forgivable? Because I don't feel like it is. I want to tell the whole family, but I feel like they just downplay it and make me seem crazy. Cut me off and turn my siblings against me. They've done it before when I called them out on other things, so here I am, just needing to get it out, I guess. What would you do? Well, personally, OP, that's pretty insane. Yeah, your dad's a pedo, so that's not cool. And personally, if I were you, I would have reported it, but I don't know if the statute of limitations has surpassed on that. However, yeah, really creepy. Definitely could have done it to somebody else. He only got caught once, so that makes me think that he's definitely capable of doing it, but he might not have had access to victims, because it does seem like he preyed on that poor girl that was living with you because he was in such close proximity and because he could take advantage by giving her alcohol and doing all these other things. So either way, on to the next story. For our last Reddit confession, this one's very morbid. Posted by Milky Way Kid 22. This is about 6 years ago, and they say, I killed an elderly man in front of his wife and basically his entire family. Forgive me for any misspellings or format. I'm trying to do this on my phone. I haven't talked to anyone about this, even though it's been years, even my closest friends, minus the ones that were there. One night, when I was in college, I was driving to some liquor store for a party my fraternity was supposed to throw the following night. I was taking a street I was familiar with to get back to my house. It was dark, but the street was lit with street lamps. I remember that I looked at my radio for a second. Just a second. Not very long. But when I looked back up, there was a man crossing the road. I didn't have time to react. By the time I saw him, he had already hit the good side of my car and bounced off. I remember screaming and hitting the brakes, and the wash of horror of what had just happened. I'll admit, I had thought about speeding away, but I pulled over to the side and ran out of my car to check on the guy. When I got to him, his family was standing outside the restaurant he was leaving, and they were all screaming and crying. He was laying on the side of the road with blood coming out of his nose and mouth. 2 other men were standing with him trying to see if he was alright and calling 911. All I could say was, I didn't see him. I was frantic by the time what I had done set in. I sat on the curb across from the family and listened to their crying in agony while we waited for the paramedics to arrive. I sat there and sobbed while the paramedics took him away in an ambulance. I don't believe I've ever cried so hard and for so long. The worst part about all of it, and what still haunts me today, is that his wife came over to me when I was distraught on the curb, sat next to me and placed her hand on my shoulder and said, I was married to him for almost 50 years. We had a good life. Then she hugged me and said that she forgave me. After everything was said and done, it was ruled that it was an accident. I wasn't charged with anything, and I had one of my friends pick me up from the police station. I went down a dark path the years after that. I drank heavily, dropped out of college in my senior year, and had to move back in with my mother and father because I couldn't hold on to a job. Even tried to kill myself with pills. It was a hard road to recovery, which I feel I'm not fully recovered, nor do I feel I will ever be the same, but eventually I got my life back in order, joined up with the Navy, and saw a bit of the world, and now I'm on track to go back to college and hopefully finish what I started there. It took almost a decade, but I finally start to feel almost whole again. I'm back to hanging with my friends and actually going out. So maybe there is light at the end of the tunnel. This was an insane post. I think that the lady coming up to that person and putting her arm around him and telling him it's okay, we had a great marriage and we lived a long life, that just speaks volumes about that lady, but also how OP should probably view the situation. She wasn't mad at him, and she honestly forgave him, which I think is the right thing to do, and which is crazy to do right in the moment, especially because it's such a fresh thing. But that lady deserves some props. And OP, hopefully you're carrying on with your life and you're good. But yeah, I understand. Probably wasn't the best decision to look at your radio, but in the end, it really wasn't your fault. It was just an accident. Alright, y'all. Thank you so much for watching another one of my videos. If you liked what you saw, I have other content on my channel and more content to come. It's going to be Reddit stories, creepy stories, all that juicy stuff. So stay tuned for more. Thank you.